Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech. And iOS 26.1 released to the public a couple weeks ago, and iOS 26.2 Beta 3 released to developers a few days ago, along with iOS 26.2 Public Beta 2, which is the same thing. But there's even more to talk about since the iOS 26.2 Beta 3 is out What's New video. We'll talk about the latest Apple news, we'll also talk about some new features, and we'll talk about the overall experience. Not just my experience, but your experience based off the YouTube community poll on the post page. We're at the time of this video, there's over 18,000 votes and 201 comments, and I've gone over all the comments to determine what the experience is like for most of us. So be sure to stick around toward the end of the video where I'll read some of your comments as well. Now, Apple has announced their Black Friday sales event for 4 days from Black Friday to Cyber Monday. Those who actually purchase from the online store or in person actually will be eligible for a $25 to $250 gift card on eligible purchases. So you can see it here, the countdown has started up. So you'll see the information and it's on apple.com. I never expected this, but Google announced on Thursday that they found out a way to allow Pixel phones to quick share to iPhone using AirDrop natively. They're using the exact same protocol, and you can AirDrop to things such as your iPhone, Mac, iPad, even a Vision Pro, so it works the exact same and works across all devices, but you do need a Pixel 10 device. So you'll see I have a Pixel 10 Pro XL here, and I'll show you how this works. Now, in order to share via AirDrop, you can either do that from any app, or you can go into the quick settings and then go to Quick Share. If we set this down here, let's go ahead and turn these off so we can send to a specific device, or we'll lock the screens rather, and then we'll tap Send. Now it says select a file to share. I've selected a wallpaper here, and you'll see it says looking for nearby devices. Now, if we go into our settings, we do need to make sure that under General and then AirDrop, it's set to everyone for 10 minutes. So as long as it's set to everyone, it should show up, and we'll give it just a second. There it goes, iPhone 17. Then we have to accept, and it should show up right away. And it works as expected. It works in reverse as well, but you do need to tap on Receive. So now that we've got Receive, again, AirDrop, you'll see it here. Give it just a second, it will show up. Pixel 10 Pro XL, and now it goes in reverse. We tap accept, and then we can AirDrop in the other direction. It works great, just like you would expect, and I'm happy to see this, but Apple could get rid of it altogether. They may stop it, but then that could be quite controversial, and people could get upset with antitrust suits and other things. So we'll have to wait and see what they do with that. Last week, Apple introduced a new sling that goes over your shoulder called the iPhone Pocket to house your iPhone. They sold out quickly, and this week they introduced something else. If we go into the Apple Store here, you'll see the Hikawa phone grip and stand MagSafe compatible. This was designed through an extensive interview process to support varied ways of holding iPhone while reducing the effort needed to keep it steady. This is for accessibility users. It's limited edition at $69.95, and it looks like it's already sold out. So hopefully I can get my hands on one, and maybe I'll give it away to someone that needs it after I've tested it out. Apple this week also announced the 2025 App Store Award finalists. So if we scroll down here, you'll see that the iPhone App of the Year finalists, we have BandLab, Ladder, and Timo, and then we have iPhone Game of the Year finalists, and many more. Again, I'll link this in the description if you want to check it out. Let me know if maybe you're included in this, and it's always great to see who the Game of the Year is, and we'll hear more about that a little bit later, but these are the finalists. They also announced some things for podcasts, where they unveiled the most popular shows and trends of 2025. So lots of awards and things going out, but the top shows, top new shows, most followed shows, most shared shows, and top channels. So you can see those here. Apple announced a couple new stores this week. The first one's in Beijing, and we have some new wallpaper, so you can see it here. This is the wallpaper. Again, I'll link it in the description if you want to get your hands on it. And then also there's a new store opening in Massachusetts. So this is going to be in Millbury, Massachusetts, and it has a similar design to the Birkdale Village store near me in Charlotte. Sadly, there's no wallpaper for it, but we have one for the Beijing store. Apple Wallet is gaining more states that can add their driver's license into the wallet. If we go into Wallet, under driver's license and ID cards, after you press the plus button, not only do we have the new passport for digital ID, but now we have Illinois. Now, according to Apple's website, it looks like there are going to be 2 more states that are added soon, with Arkansas and Virginia. So again, your state has to work with Apple to get these implemented. So if they're not there, you'll need to reach out to your state and ask them to implement it. So that's why it's limited right now, but maybe we'll see more of that in the future. When it comes to new features, well, there's a new feature that came out with Beta 3 that has to do with AirDrop. Initially, I showed the setting for it. So if we go back here, go into General and then AirDrop, scroll down, you'll see it says Manage Known AirDrop Contacts. Well, if you have an account that's trying to AirDrop to you and it's not noticed by your phone or your contacts, it will then prompt you to enter a code for a secure transfer. Let me show you how it works. Here's an iPad that's not on my Apple account. So this is really attached to no account currently, just so I could show you this. But if we go ahead and share, then we go ahead and AirDrop, and maybe we want to AirDrop to this one, which is the iPhone 17 Pro Max Blue. You'll see that it says passcode required. So it says use AirDrop code, share a secure code with people not in your contacts to use AirDrop. You will be able to find each other for the next 30 days. You can manage access and settings. So you can get the code, you can access it here and place this code over here, and then you can AirDrop back and forth for 30 days. So it's a new way to have that secure back and forth, even if you don't have them in your contacts. Another change has to do with the keyboard in Spotlight Search, more particularly on the lock screen. If we pull down here, you'll see that we have the rounded keyboard. I've had this since Beta 2, but some people are seeing it for the first time in Beta 3. Again, the same is true on the lock screen. If maybe we go into it, pull down to Spotlight Search, some people are now seeing the proper keyboard where it fits the overall dimensions and is the new curved keyboard. So let me know if you weren't seeing it and you're seeing it now. Quite a few people mentioned this. Also, another thing that's been updated is a splash screen the first time you go into an Apple account. Now, I don't see this currently, but if you go into settings, tap on your name, you should have a new splash screen there as well. Also, users in Japan will be able to assign the side button to activate an assistant other than Siri, according to new documentation by Apple. While it doesn't seem to be available yet, you can see it here on Apple's site for their documentation, where it says launching your voice-based conversational app from the side button of iPhone. Let people in Japan configure the side button of iPhone to launch your voice-based conversational app. So you'll be able, instead of launching Siri, to maybe launch Gemini or ChatGPT or any others, such as Claude or others that you want to use. So that's great to see. Of course, the developer will need to update it based off this documentation for it to work properly. But it looks like it's coming very soon. I would love to see that option everywhere, as I would love to see Apple open that up along with maybe third-party app stores if you want to use them worldwide. Some of the biggest updates have to do with iPadOS 26.2 Beta 3 this week. It seems that Apple continues to listen, so they keep listening to suggestions and complaints, and they've brought back split view. Also, we had slide over before, but now we have them combined. You can see that by going into your settings, under multitasking and gestures. The only catch is you have to use it under windowed apps or Stage Manager. It doesn't work under full screen apps. But if I open up Safari, you'll see it's already to the side. If I bring in maybe the App Store, drag it here, we have split view again. So it works independently like it always has. It works great. It's super smooth. And then, of course, we can have slide over as well. So if we bring in maybe Safari, watch the arrow on the side here. It will sort of fill in to let you know it's got it. We'll go to a website, and now we have slide over. Slide it off the screen, bring it back, just like you would expect. The only exception is you can't stack the slide over apps yet, so maybe they'll bring that back in the future. When it comes to app updates this week, well, Apple's compressor app gained liquid glass and got an update there. Also, Google Maps is adding Gemini AI tips. So if we go into Safari here, slide over, you'll see that it says simplify the holidays with 4 new Google Maps features. If we scroll down, we have insider tips built with Gemini. It says find what's trending nearby with the updated Explore tab. Make sure EV chargers are available for road trips, and also be your local business's secret Santa. So basically you can post reviews anonymously. Also, if you're a user of WhatsApp, there's an update coming soon. It looks like they're testing out the ability to use multiple accounts in their latest beta. On WA beta info, you'll see here, if we scroll down, there's an option to show multiple accounts. So hopefully we'll have that very soon. Now, when it comes to iPhone 17 this year, iPhone 17 sales seem to be doing very well with everything this year except for maybe the iPhone Air. This is according to the latest Counterpoint research, where they're saying the iPhone 17 models, like the iPhone 17 Pro and 17 Pro Max, have jumped 37% in sales in China compared to the same time last year. So we're seeing that all over the place, where many people are picking up the Pro and Pro Max and the base iPhone 17. The only one not selling well seems to be the iPhone Air, according to the latest information. So I really like all of them this year. I'm glad they've updated them. I'm glad they're selling well, as they seem to be decent phones overall. Apple this week released a new beta firmware update for AirPods Pro 3. It's specific to the AirPods Pro 3, and if we go into our settings, you'll see here, let me connect them. You'll see under AirPods Pro 3, if we scroll to the bottom, you'll see there's an option for AirPods beta updates. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend you try these out, but it's available now if you want to try the pre-release beta firmware. It brings it to version 8B5025A if you've installed it. Apple also released new firmware for the Magic Keyboard, USB-C Magic Trackpad, which is version 3.1.9, and the Magic Trackpad Lightning version, which has a different firmware of 3.1.8. Also, the 140-watt USB-C power adapter got a firmware update of 1.4.84. The only way to update those is just to use them plugged in, and they'll update on their own. Apple doesn't say what they've improved, we just know there's an update. Now, many people keep asking me, will we see an iOS 26.1.1 because Apple stopped signing iOS 26.0.1. However, so far, there's no indication that we'll have one. It is possible, of course, but it doesn't look likely at this point. However, we could see iOS 26.2 Beta 4 as soon as next Monday. However, next week is Thanksgiving in the United States, so it is possible we see it, but based on what we've had in the past, it's hard to say. The dates have kind of been all over the place. So iOS 26.2 RC, if we do get one on Monday, the RC will probably be on December 1st, with a public release sometime around December 8th. Last year, they released it on December 11th, so with 18.2. So we don't really have a specific time, but that seems to be around the time Apple releases them. Then we'll move on to iOS 26.3 Beta 1 with no other updates probably until January in the second or third week with Beta 2. So that's typically what Apple does every year, so we can expect maybe betas this coming week, and then an RC, and then a final release very, very soon. When it comes to the overall experience, AirPods Pro 3 are something I've been using full-time since they've released, and with the latest public firmware update, it's been much better in a few different ways. Better connectivity and much better battery life for the case. Prior to that update, I felt like I was charging the case every day or two at this rate. Now it seems much, much better, and it's been off the charger for quite some time, and it's still at 100%. So everything's working much better. Let me know if you're experiencing the same thing. When it comes to the iOS 18.7.2 experience, well, it's been great overall. I see nothing but positive comments, so that's great to see. It just took almost a year for it to be super stable. So those that want stability still are waiting for iOS 26.3, maybe 4 or beyond that. When it comes to the overall experience of iOS 26.1, I used it full-time on the iPhone Air for a while, and also the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Generally, it was stable with no crashing for me, and better battery than iOS 26.0.1. Also, users on older iPhones, such as the iPhone 11 and iPhone 12, report that it's much more fluid, it's faster, more stable, things like Face ID were working again for them, and while it's not perfect, it was definitely an improvement. The most common complaint, though, is stuttering and lag. So swiping between maybe the widget page sometimes is stuttery, there's frame rate drops, going back and forth seem to be sometimes smooth, sometimes it's not, going into apps sometimes stutter, and now I'm hearing more people complain about AirPlay or connection issues with Bluetooth. Also dimmed displays for some too, where it would just randomly dim. I've seen that with different devices such as the iPad where it would sort of get super bright for no reason. So definitely an odd bug there. But the number one complaint is really the lag and stuttering. Still issues with RAM management, CarPlay connectivity issues, specifically on GM and Honda vehicles, and a few others as well. And then other people are just reporting it's great, but others say it's super hot as well. So it just depends what phone you have. When it comes to iOS 26.2 Beta 3, well, the top bug fixes seem to be much smoother performance, swiping between different pages, opening apps, just generally very smooth overall. It seems more stable with less crashes or resprings for others, and wireless seems better too, especially on older devices. This also includes CarPlay connectivity. Many have reported it's fixed or much better. There's still a few here and there that report issues, but again, it seems to be on GM and Honda vehicles. The widget panel stutter is gone, the control center ghosting is gone, and again, it's not perfect, there's some lag from time to time, but generally it's much, much better. And most people are very positive about iOS 26.2 Beta 3. The number one issue I hear, though, is with the keyboard. So if we go into notes, I've talked about this in previous videos where maybe I say, hi, this is Aaron from Zollotech, and oftentimes people will type, and sometimes it will type things they didn't mean to type. And it's not you, it's actually the keyboard. For example, someone on YouTube captured this I talked about. So maybe you're typing the word hi, you hit H, and instead it types the letter G, even though it highlights the H that you typed on. So this is something that seems to be widespread, even when autocorrect is turned off. So there's definitely an issue with the keyboard still, and it seems like it hasn't been resolved yet. RAM management is again still an issue on this update. For example, going into YouTube, I went in the other day and went out, went into Safari, went back, and everything reloaded. That's okay sometimes if it's been a while and it needs to refresh content, but right away it shouldn't be doing that. And some people are saying they're only able to do that with 3 to 5 apps and then everything reloads again. So it seems to be an issue that they'll probably resolve with future betas. Others are reporting odd screen glitches or artifacting that makes their display look like it may have a physical issue with hardware, but it seems like it's software. And then again, I've mentioned people having pixelated Apple CarPlay screens on iPhone 17 Pro Max, specifically in Mercedes. So there's an Apple forum post here. So let me know if Beta 3 resolved that for you. I haven't seen any additional posts on it as well. Of course, that wallpaper bug is still here. So if we get rid of all of these, you'll see the wallpaper. It sort of desaturates a little bit. Sometimes this issue goes away, sometimes it saturates more. It's just odd that this reoccurs, but it's still an issue overall. When it comes to overall performance, well, I mentioned already, it seems to be very smooth. Going into apps, opening the camera, swiping between pages, you'll see it was a little stuttery, but again, mostly smooth. It fixed the app library issue I was having, or it was just really slow, and ProMotion seems to ramp up and down nicely. Again, it's not perfect. It still needs some refinement, but it definitely seems to be a lot better. When it comes to the overall heat and thermals, well, that's good news as well. It stays nice and cool. This is very cool to the touch for the most part. So let's take a look again with the iPhone Air on 26.1 and the iPhone 17 Pro Max on 26.2 Beta 3. So at the same time, we'll run benchmarks, see what we get, and when they're about halfway through, we'll see what the thermals are like. So in the iPhone 17 Pro Max, at the hottest point, we're around 36 degrees Celsius. On the iPhone Air, running iOS 26.1, we're almost around 39.5 to 40 degrees Celsius. So again, that's pretty typical, although a little bit cooler than we've seen before. Benchmarks completed, and on the iPhone Air, we have 3,658 for single-core, 9,450 for multi-core. On the iPhone 17 Pro Max, running 26.2 Beta 3, we have 3,768 for single-core, 9,678 for multi-core. Now, these are not the best scores we've seen, and what I'm seeing with Geekbench is overall, the first time you run it, you always get the lowest scores. If you run it multiple times, you'll get higher scores. So I'm not sure how accurate this is. Maybe there's something that needs to run for a little bit, and then it sort of jumps up to where you would expect over 10,000. But let me know if you're seeing that as well. Now, if you're wondering if you should install iOS 26.2 betas, well, if you're on iOS 26.2 Beta 1 or Beta 2, I would definitely install it, provide feedback as needed, and continue to test it out. But overall, it's pretty stable. But if you're on iOS 26.1, I would hold off until iOS 26.2 RC or release candidate. It's only probably a couple weeks away, and then you can try it out and should be much more stable and finished at that point. Now, as far as the overall battery life, let's take a look at that. Now, as I've mentioned before, iOS 18.7.2 battery life is pretty great. Everyone says it's stable, it's good overall, and no real issues there. When it comes to iOS 26.1, I haven't used it full-time in a while, but thanks to Cameron and Connor for sending in their battery life, let's take a look. And this is on an iPhone 17 Pro Max with 100% battery health. He had 9 hours and 48 minutes of screen active time, 1 hour and 53 minutes of screen idle time, and used 78% of the battery. And it's accurate here, showing 22% left, so everything's lining up, and it looks to be pretty great battery overall. When it comes to iOS 26.2 Beta 3, well, I've been using it full-time on my iPhone 17 Pro Max. If we take a look at battery and battery health, we'll scroll down here as it jumps around sometimes. You'll see maximum capacity is at 100% with 14 cycles. So I don't have to charge it too often, thankfully, and you can see additional information here with Coconut battery. Now, when it comes to overall usage, if we take a look at battery usage, well, if we go back before the beta, you'll see I had 3 hours and 55 minutes of screen active time, 8 hours and 41 minutes of screen idle time. And then just yesterday, 3 hours and 25 minutes of screen active time, 3 hours and 55 minutes of screen idle time, and used 71% of the battery. It isn't great overall. Today's much, much better though, at only 39% usage with 3 hours and 40 minutes of screen active time. So it's improving day by day, seems much, much better. And I found that some people have found that the screen idle time is a bit off, and removing widgets seems to fix that. So there's some optimizations that are still not there yet. Now, when it comes to the overall experience, let's take a look at some of your comments. Lucanfur656 said, I'm currently using iOS 26.1 on my base model iPhone 17. Battery life is awesome. I haven't faced any problems with battery on a regular use. The only bug I noticed was with this version of iOS is the fact that it lags when you scroll between pages with widgets, but overall very smooth. Gabriel Voltaire 20 said, iPhone 16 running iOS 26.1, buttery smooth without any issues. Battery life is great, having no problems with it. My phone lasted from morning till night, now 9:29 p.m. now, and still 46% battery life. Chris Palmer 4983 said, I've been using iOS 26.1 on my iPhone 17 Pro. Battery life has been great. The standby battery drain has been good as well. I easily get all-day battery life with moderate use. Overall performance has been smooth and snappy. Theodore Nikolai 4244 says, I don't think people realize how good iOS 26.2 Beta 3. The entire iOS is like a big refresh. My 17 Pro Max is so smooth now, enjoyable. YT Thijmen Plays says, I'm on 26.2 Beta 3 on iPhone 12 Pro, and overall the battery has improved a lot compared to 26.0 and 26.1. Overall very good experience, very few lag spikes too. J0 says, iOS 26.2 Beta 3 currently on iPhone 16 Pro Max. Beta 2 improved my battery greatly, Beta 3 seems around the same. Haven't noticed any bugs or issues, just the heating of the phone post-install, but quickly normalized. When it comes to iPhone storage, let's go ahead and take a look at settings, so we'll go back into General and then iPhone storage. If we scroll to the bottom, you'll see on the left with iOS 26 on iPhone Air, it's 20.28 gigabytes. It's 23 gigabytes on iOS 26.2 Beta 3. Overall, most of that is Apple Intelligence at 9.07 gigabytes compared to 6.62. So not a huge change there. Of course, Apple Intelligence seems to go up and down. And then, of course, at the bottom, system data goes up and down as needed, but you'll see it is a little bit less on the beta. When it comes to iOS 18.7.2, it's the stable benchmark. The experience on iOS 18.7.2 is overwhelmingly positive, with users viewing it as stable and the reliable benchmark for a modern iPhone. Users on devices like the iPhone 16 Pro Max and iPhone 15 Pro Max report that the software is smooth and working very well. The most praised aspect is battery life, which is frequently described as excellent, amazing, and capable of lasting 2 to 3 days with light use. Many users advise against updating, or they're just waiting for a more consistent experience on iOS 26. When it comes to iOS 26.1, it's the Visual Overhaul with new options for liquid glass, but the experience on iOS 26.1 is defined by widespread instability and stuttery performance issues throughout, creating highly polarized feedback from many of your comments. The majority of comments describe the update as basically severe lag, the phone feels like it's from 2008, and just basically disappointed overall. While some users did report that battery life was perfect or good again, the overall sentiment reflects frustration and regret over updating due to the lag and just issues throughout, but it's definitely better than iOS 26.0.1. iOS 26.2 Beta 3 is the fix-up. Those on iOS 26.2 Beta 3 basically report that the update is a significant step forward, stating that the phone feels fluid again. And many issues such as lockups and crashes have been resolved. Performance is often described as much better and very good in terms of stuttering and lag compared to iOS 26.1. Battery life also seems to be improved for many, with many users reporting that it improved a lot or is just decent overall. However, the update's not perfect, but so far it feels much better, with new options showing that Apple is listening to some of our feedback and providing new features and options, maybe with a liquid glass slider in the future. Again, sadly for those that want the best experience, have no way to downgrade to iOS 18. So I would love to see the option to downgrade if you're on a phone that actually shipped with the update. So maybe sometime in the future, since it has the overall security updates, but I don't think we'll see that anytime soon. So that's everything with iOS 26.1 and iOS 26.2 Beta 3. I'm looking forward to the final release, as I think iOS 26.2 will finally bring the stability and the overall experience many of us have wanted from iOS 26 from the start. Let me know how it's going for you though in the comments below, and of course I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.